told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for meeting with me today. I am your host, Shannon Gilmore. I'm a life survivor of trauma, including what we all know as narcissistic trauma. I have turned my story around and have become a peer support mentor, a life coach, and a Christian author. And I'm here to help you by sharing with you hidden insights into trauma, both clinically and biblically, through a holistic spiritual lens. Now, I don't claim to be right. I'm an experiencer just as you. And we are all here to help each other because I believe we're all in this thing we call life together. Now, this presentation that I would like to share with you today is about you. I'm going to share with you how to listen and trust your own voice by sharing with you how you can take your own voice that's hidden inside of you and magnify it on the page to help you sort through your feelings. So please watch until the end as I have an exciting project that you can do by yourself, or you can incorporate it and enjoy it with your whole family. And this project can be modified to help kids who are enduring their own pain of childhood trauma themselves. This project is interactive and it allows you to get as creative as you want. So please stick around. The information in this e-course that I'm about to share with you will help you to define your trauma by finding the root source. You work at your pace as this course helps you to rediscover, redefine yourself as you learn how to let go of all that pain that you have been hanging on to for so long. But before we can get on with this program, I have to read the disclaimer. You agree that your healing process is something that you and you alone are responsible for. This presentation is to be an added source of education for you. Therefore, any advice, insight given from me, Shannon Gilmore, is for educational purposes only. Should you decide to take any of this educational direction and apply it in your personal life, or should you decide to try any suggestions, you do so at your own risk. You will not hold me, Shannon Gilmore, liable or responsible for any direction that you take or do not take from this presentation. Should you not get the results that you were looking for or hoping for, you understand that results will vary as results depend on your consistency and commitment and effort on your part. You get out of this commentary what you want, and you work on this and your healing process, your own timing and your own way. So if you agree to this, then let's continue. In this presentation, you will learn how to recognize your trauma, discern where your trauma comes from, and you will learn how to distance yourself away from your trauma. Does this sound good to you? Great. Let's move forward. I'm going to read this, even though this is a little bit difficult for you to see. I'm going to read this here for you as you can download your 30-page copy of this booklet on my sister channel, and I will have the link to that at the end of this course. So you want to learn about narcissism. It may have started out by you trying to answer a few questions for yourself. You just had to know if what that other person did to you was real or imagined, right? You just have to know if their actions against you and those things that they said and did had some sort of reasoning behind it. You do need to make sense of this after all. The person that you live with, the person you call friend, the one you call a loved one, the one you call a coworker, they didn't just do or say that, did they? How do they think that they can get away with that without any consequence? I mean, of all the nerve. So you need to find out why they did and said exactly what they did. You need answers today because their ways are driving you to act in ways that are unbecoming of you. You need to know you are not going batshit cray cray. You need to know if this behavior from them is normal. You know it's not. Do they know it's not? And what can you do to help them? Well, I'm here to tell you that you are not cray cray. And unfortunately, you have discovered the world of crazy making as your world has become enmeshed with a crazy maker. You've got questions and you need answers today. I get that. And you're asking yourself, what the hell happened to this person to make them like this? Why is this person in your life? And what in the world were you thinking to believe that this person was good, kind, and well-mannered? Well, you know the answer to this, and so we don't need to go over it again. I'll leave you with 2 words: cognitive dissonance. And that, my friend, unfortunately, is on you. That's why we allow a narcissist in the first place. But it's more complicated than that. And the complications, well, they're not our fault. We did nothing wrong to trust someone who proves to be untrustworthy. And now that you know this, you do need a lifeline. You search for answers and you get more answers than what you were ever looking for. Am I right? Well, before we go on to that, let's get some things out of the way because here are some things to consider when you go searching the internet for answers that lead you to narcissistic personality disorder. Understanding their behavior so you can understand your own. That's why you decide to go on your fact-finding mission. But you don't realize that you're understanding your own behavior. You just want answers into their behavior. And you realize in finding some answers, you actually realize that your reactions are normal as you reacted to their abuse, which was not normal. The narcissist, they normalize the abuse. So please learn these keywords: gaslighting, projection, devaluation, discard, reactive abuse, apathy, stalking behavior, enmeshment, and cognitive dissonance. So let's get on to a warning before we get on with the program. Narcissistic personality disorder can be confused with, and oftentimes is, overlapping with other mental and behavioral issues, such as borderline personality disorder, anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, and Machiavellianism, just to name a few. So please never confront someone you suspect who might have problem behavior and call them out on narcissism. Why? Because doing so can become potentially dangerous for you. Just because someone expresses narcissistic traits does not mean that they have the personality disorder. So use the information you discover as a means to clarify their bad behavior for you, as this helps you to stay emotionally and physically grounded and safe. You care what happens to this person. You care what happens to your relationship. You want to know how you can do better moving forward. You want to know what happened to them as you want to help them. That's all you want. You want this person to be happy. You want to help them to stop making those same mistakes over and over again. You want them to see that their lying, their gaslighting, their manipulation, their dismissive ways are wrong. How can you be diplomatic about this and help them without hurting them? What can you do? These were also questions I had when I went looking for answers. Maybe some research can help you to help them steer away from hurting themselves, and maybe together you both can work together in a partnership and reinforce good behavior from one another. That's a start in the right direction, isn't it? Well, the person that you knew didn't suddenly wake up one day and start acting malevolently. They made a choice from their perspective of pain, which is also trauma, and then they made the same choice again in another situation, and then they made that choice again in a different situation, and they repeated this choice until that choice no longer was a choice. That choice became habit, and that habit became instinct. The person no longer had a choice, as the choice became an automatic decision to make that what was decided without conscious thought or effort. We'll talk more about this in just a moment. The person you loved made a choice long ago, and by the time you came into their lives, that choice to treat people a certain way was no longer a choice, but instinct. The question we often ask ourselves is, does this person know that they're lying to me? Do they know that they're hurting me? And if they do know, why do they do this? Do they care about me? Well, this person at one time did know that they were lying when they made that leap of faith to lie the first time, a long time ago. And this was their choice. They made those same choices over and over and over again until those choices became a habit. And by the time you came along in their life, that habit was already well established as instinct, where they, with you, are not consciously aware that they are telling a lie or doing something wrong. To change that wrong, to make an alternate decision. They're not in their minds going, do I tell a lie? Don't I tell a lie? They tell a lie to you as its automatic instinct. They may know that they're telling a lie to you. They may know it's wrong, but they can't help themselves, as they can't help you so that they can stop. They can't help themselves as they are on autopilot. And they can't stop because they would have to care. And they can't care because that caring nature stopped a long time ago once their devious ways became habit. They chose devious ways and forsook the ways of caring. That was the price to pay for the choices that they made. And they chose not to care because if we dissect this a little bit deeper, unraveling all those lies and deceptions to the toxic individual, if they had a choice to look at their own behavior over the years through the lens of caring, that would cause the narcissist an immeasurable amount of guilt. How would they ever be able to make up for those wrongs? They couldn't be able to, as their guilt would be permanent. Every lie told, every deception acted upon, the narcissist through the lens of caring would become so overwhelmed and so weighted down with grief brought on by their guilt. It would for them be intolerable and immeasurable. That's why the narcissist cannot care. They literally can't. They tossed the means to care out the window a long time ago. It was a fair trade, so to speak. As the minute they started lying, they decided not to care. The minute that you lie, you decide not to care. It's a slippery slope between us and them. But the difference is we can change. They cannot. We can change because we care. They cannot care. You don't know what you don't know, and you don't know to look for problem behavior in someone. That's why the narcissistic ways are so traumatizing as they are blindsiding. These problem behaviors you have been groomed not to look for in your youth. You have actually been trained not to notice what narcissistic behavior looks like. Just like the narcissist, they made their choice, and so did we. Our choice was to overlook problem behavior, and one choice to overlook that problem behavior, well, that led to another choice to overlook that problem behavior. And in another situation, we chose to look over that problem behavior. And soon those choices, whether it be 2 or 3 or 5, 15 choices, soon the choice to overlook hurtful behavior became habit for us. And we then didn't notice their wayward behavior because it was instinct in us to overlook it. We overlook their problem behavior because we care. We did not forsake caring nature in us, but the caring nature, our empathy, has been used as a weapon to dismiss bad behavior and not even look for it. So we just hope for the best that they will change. Your choice to overlook who the narcissist is comes from a place of caring. Now, their choice to overlook who you are comes from a place of not caring. Their ways are confusing to you, and so you go looking for answers. And what begins a fact-finding mission to discover who they are ends up in a fact-finding mission and discovery to find out who you are. Narcissistic people are toxic people who are hurting internally with no hope of healing. In finding answers to help them, you unknowingly find yourself. Narcissism comes from trauma. It comes from one or both parents, as empathy was not taught in the child through example. Instead, the child was taught to survive through greed, selfishness, jealousy, aggression, arrogance, severe emotional pain of neglect, rejection, and physical and/or emotional abandonment. You yourself cannot help the narcissist. In trying to help them, you learn how to help yourself. By you researching their bad behavior, you are by happenstance exposed to your own. Are you ready to listen to what your heart is telling you? You, my friend, cannot change what you cannot see. And you cannot know what you cannot know. And when you see your bad behavior, and recognize that the behavior is not self-defining for you, meaning that it doesn't serve you, then you make the decision to change. You end up saving yourself as you let God lead the way. Every time the narcissist evokes pain within you, you may assume that your reaction is an attempt to get them to stop hurting you, when in reality, your inner you is actually crying out to the outer you. Your heart is crying out to your ego, stop hurting us. You are crying out to you to get your own self's attention. So when you see your behavior and you recognize that behavior, that it's no longer serving you, that's when you make the decision to change. Because your reaction to pain is actually begging you to stop allowing the abuse to continue. But we are blind to that fact, and we think that our reaction to the pain that is being given to us at the cause of the narcissistic trauma, we assume that our reaction is saying to the narcissist, stop hurting me. Your emotion is calling out to you. And what's it going to take for you to finally listen? Unfortunately, more trauma. When you see your behavior and recognize that the behavior itself is not self-serving, you then make the decision to change. You end up saving yourself as God leads the way and points you in the correct direction that leads to deliverance. So here's something to think about. Are you ready to start paying attention to your inner self crying out to you? What feelings can you define that are formed out of your own trauma? Begin paying attention by asking yourself questions. How is this feeling that is invoked in me? How is it serving me? How can I better define myself by seeing the tragedy for what it really is? Is the narcissist provoking pain in me to hurt me? Yes, but how can I turn that around and use their provoking ways to expose me to myself and finally see me for who other people see me as and change myself for the better? The internet searches that you perform, well, they are your lifeline. The books you have read, the answers you find to your questions, well, you have learned from. And you have absorbed all these things, as these are the lifelines that pull you up and out of the wreckage of emotional hell. These are the things that save you because they reveal to you that your mission in life is you. It's always been you, my friend. But you didn't know this. But you find out, as this is what happens when you try to save someone else. In trying to save them, you end up saving yourself. But how does this happen? When you realize that you cannot change anyone, that is not what you are in this life for. Once you understand this, the answers for you just start falling into place. You can only change yourself. The narcissist is all about changing you, but they can't. They can't change who you inherently are. And that's why you express trauma, because they are trying to change the very essence within you that makes you you. The narcissist is trying to destroy your caring nature, your empathy, by forcing you to not care about yourself. And that, well, that cannot happen. The fundamental rule of life cannot be changed. Everyone has free will, and no one can control another's free will. This can only be done by lying and gaslighting. And God doesn't overstep our free will, so how can anyone else have that authority? They don't. We give the narcissist authority because we fear their rage. We fear their fear. The narcissist is acting out of their own fear from trauma. And we're acting in fear from our own trauma, and we end up fearing their fear. We end up fearing them, and we allow them to lie and gaslight us, and this allows us to give our free will over to them, and that is how they are able to control us. See, we act in disagreement to the narcissist's lies. It's because we know deep down inside who we truly are. We are self-aware, and we learn that we cannot trust the environment the narcissist creates with us. The more we try to help the narcissist, to help us help them, to help us as a unit, as a team, the more we discover we do need a lifeline ourselves. And you need to be rescued. We all do. This is when you begin to pick up the pieces of your shattered life. This is when you recognize that the problem is much bigger and messier than what you could have ever imagined. Well, welcome to overwhelm. But now what? Your senses are overloaded, and any attempts to pick up this mess alone is an exercise in futility, but only for a time. Change begins with you. You can only change who you are now. To change who you are now, you have to look at the past. The past is where you hung on to the trauma of people trying to change who you were back then. And today, it's still happening. Trauma is a struggle to prevent you from changing who you inherently are. But you don't have to know who you are to know you care, because you, my friend, are love. Let me explain. When you were young, you were dependent on someone. You depended on someone else as you formed your identity through them. You identified yourself through the lens of their pain and their perspective on life. Now you who are independent of that person, you can let go of the old ways that do not belong to you or serve you. And now you can reinvent yourself, but you don't know how. You don't know that you can do this. You have to first go within yourself to those hidden caverns and find where your trauma is. You have to identify it, label it, and expose it with the light that is within you already. You have to face this trauma with courage and shine your empathy and caring nature on it. That is how you heal from this trauma. And now that you are one step closer on how to do that, you are going to learn how to heal yourself of all the trauma that binds you to the narcissist and to your past. It's not easy, but you can do this. I know you can. The narcissist wants to change you. That is a major theme for them. All narcissists want to change you. They want to destroy your empathy. It's always about maintaining and remaining in control with the toxic individual. The narcissist does not want you independent and thriving on your own. They don't want to see you happy. They want to change you. They have to. They want to see you existing lower than how they live. They want you living in your trauma because of who you are, as you have empathy. They resent you because you can heal from your trauma. They can't. They resent you because of who you are, but they made that choice to lie and lie and lie and lie some more until it became habit. They made the choice to forsake their inheritance of empathy. That's on them. And here is an epiphany, my friends, that just came to me. The narcissist, oh, they're just like Esau. Remember, Esau forsook his inheritance for a bowl of pottage, and he ended up resenting Jacob for it and actually tried to kill Jacob more than once. Ooh, this is a familiar story. See, the narcissist, they have their reasons why they want to change us, but they are not conscious of it. It's instinctual. Your trauma reveals to them what you need. You need love. They can't give it. Their trauma reveals to you what they need, love. And you can give it, but they don't want it. See, love is in you to give. The narcissist doesn't want it. And in order for you to give love, your trauma needs to be put aside. Someone has to give you love so that you can heal that trauma. And that love, well, it's not going to come from a narcissist, my friends. So if not them, then from who? From you. When you get answers, you'll learn a lot. Your eyes are open to the fact of who this person that you care about really is. You learn about this person in ways you thought you would never know. The person you love and care about, is actually more toxic than you ever realized. And that is a thorn in your side. And you come to that hard swallow of that pill. And you have to let the truth sink in that the relationship with this toxic person is fraudulent. The secrets that you discover on your fact-finding mission, they're shattering to your relationship. The person you want to save, the reality is they don't want to be saved. And the person that needs saving, well, you can't yet see because you haven't looked in the mirror. The person that needs saving the most has been reaching out to you in ways that have finally gotten your attention. The person that needs saving has been reaching out to you. Have they finally gotten your attention yet? Have those answered questions caused you to pay attention to you? The person that you need to save isn't the toxic person. The person is you. The narcissist exposes you to yourself in a way that shows you who you are not. When you see who you are not, you will then begin to reach for the you who you are and who you want to be. The more you search for yourself, the more you discover answers, the more you recognize the root issues, those common threads that you have with the narcissist. Oh, it's a spiritual cord that binds you to them. You are bound together, and the spiritual cord has a name. It's called trauma. In searching out the truth about others, you learn the truth about yourself. So here's some questions to ask yourself objectively. What has this person done to hurt me or our relationship? What do I need from this person to right the wrong? What is it that I am not receiving from this person that helps to right this wrong? Don't let your emotional heartache allow you to attack your character. Because sometimes when we do not get the help from the narcissist that we're looking for, we turn to self-depreciation. That needs to stop today. Do not allow yourself to belittle you. Catch yourself in what you say. Catch your thoughts and turn them around. Do not tell yourself that you are stupid. Instead, say to yourself, I am learning and I am helping myself by growing and learning something new every day. Instead of saying, oh, how could I be so dumb? Instead, say, I cannot know what I do not know. Knowledge is power, and I'm empowered now with acquired knowledge. That's a good thing. Do not say to yourself, oh, I'm such an idiot. Instead, say, oh, I make mistakes, but that does not define me. Do not say, oh, I'm such a fool. Instead, say, well, I'm a work in progress, and progress takes work. Instead of saying, I am so blind, say this, well, I didn't see the truth, and I didn't see that coming because I wasn't looking for it. It's time for you to show up for yourself, my friends. Tell yourself all the wonderful things you needed to hear as a child or from the narcissist that you were never told. Tell yourself all the wonderful things you wanted to believe about yourself, but were never allowed to believe. It's time, my friend, to believe in yourself. It's time to believe in someone wonderful. Look in the mirror because that someone wonderful is you. Trauma is defined as being an emotional response to a terrible event, like an accident, a natural disaster, or a personal assault. Immediately after the traumatic experience, shock, and denial can take lead and can take hold of an individual to lead them further into an emotional response that impacts the individual short or long term. These responses leave emotional and physical symptoms that can have lifelong negative effects. When you experience life-altering effects in a narcissistic relationship or any sort of trauma that you are negatively impacted in, you express a negative emotional response to a terrible event that has been impressed upon you. And this trauma leaves a lasting impression. We try to lessen the trauma by enabling, deflecting, devaluing, and excusing the pain away by saying, oh, they didn't mean it. Everyone has bad days. Oh, it wasn't that bad. I can handle it. What we think and feel are sometimes not the same. And the toxic ways of the narcissist are traumatizing no matter how we want to spin it. Naturally, we negatively respond to their gambling debts, their financial turmoil, their substance abuse, their neglect, their cheating, their hate, their rage, their physical and verbal assaults with a negative reaction. We can't fake it, and our brains won't allow us to minimalize their wrongdoing. They create a trauma bond with us as the trauma they create causes us to remember them for life. They keep us remembering their name as we keep their memory alive through the trauma that they cause. There's something that you need to know about trauma. When a negative event happens and we negatively respond to it, the brain creates or secretes neurochemicals that help the body to remain safe. These chemicals cause our bodies to respond in such a way that prevents us from further harm. Our brains, through chemical releases, create a fight or flight response. This is the brain's primitive response and protective mechanism at the beginning of our early years. You can now control your brain's chemical secretions simply by altering the way that you think, but this isn't always easy to do. Think about the positives instead of the negatives, is what people say. This isn't easily done. This is only practiced through repetition, as repetition is key. The feelings the toxic individual exposes in us are not new. This is only assumed to be new, as we believe these feelings are new because the only time our feelings come out is in real-time responses and scenarios that we personally engage in. This doesn't have to be complicated, but yet it is. See, you dismiss your involvement by projecting blame onto the toxic individual because they are the ones who brought out the reactions in you. Therefore, they are to blame. Your feelings lead you to assume that they are to blame, but not entirely. You enable your behavior by allowing the narcissist to take full responsibility when it takes two to fight and two to get along. Projection is a two-way street because it is a form of a reflection. Here are some symptoms of abuse that we do not recognize that we are symptomatic in our trauma. We express Stockholm Syndrome, infantile regression, PTSD, or CPSD. We express rage. We express fawning. We express attachment deficits, and we project our pain onto the narcissist as we endure physical diseases and chronic illnesses also. There are feelings and there are emotions. Feelings are the positive or negative responses we give to current situations. Emotions are the historical feelings that are stored in our memory. As our subconscious has accumulated these feelings over our lifetime, and these feelings, now known as emotions, are stored away that we cannot easily recall. See, when you respond to situations in real time through an expression of real-time feelings, your historical emotions are brought out as well, which you're not aware of. So you are led to believe that you're expressing immediate feelings in the here and now. And you are led to believe that your feelings in the here and now have everything to do with the situation in the here and now, when this is not so. The thing with fight and flight responses is that they are attached to both feelings and emotions. Because of historical trauma of the past, hidden feelings known as emotions are expressed in real time. But the fact that the trauma is historical, in the way that time has put distance between you and the event, you only assume that the situation does not have anything to do with your past when it has everything to do with your past. Because the truth is, your brain doesn't know the difference. Your brain releases cortisol to every negative situation that you endure. Your brain does not tell the difference between breaking your leg and having a physical experience or having your car window broken into. Both are negative traumatic situations for you that you personally respond to which your brain releases cortisol, a stress hormone which sends your body into a fight or flight mode or reaction. And usually this is seen with your feelings and emotions. Negative feelings and emotions are expressed when your brain is engaged in fight or flight. And can you tell the difference which your feelings and emotions are engaging in? Your consciousness decides which is the bigger threat and sends your body into fight or flight mode. The chemical reactions is like the mechanical lever that is pulled on a train track. The lever is pulled and the trackway changes positions as the train is then taken in a new direction. The chemical reactions in your brain tell your consciousness how you should respond, and you follow through. Your subconscious tells your conscious mind what to do, and you do it based on what the subconscious feels, or what those feelings are stored in memory. Your negative feelings are a show of fear and will display what you should do. Fight is anger, flight is anxiousness, and so is fear. You may think that once the feeling of fear has subsided, that it's all gone, forgotten about. While the chemical secretions have dissipated, causing you to no longer feel or sense fear, the memory of fear, what it looks like and feels like for you, is never taken away from you. You may not be aware of your feelings of fear, but that fear shows up in various ways in your life. That fear didn't just show up when you felt it. Your body has been trained by fear, as fear is historical, as it is a form of trauma. Ever wonder why you do what you don't want to do and don't do what you want to do? There are hidden beliefs, thoughts, and emotions that are all tucked away in the subconscious mind. These are all attached to you from events of your past, from yesterday, a month ago, even 50 years ago. The brain houses 5 brain waves that are essential for our spiritual and bodily development. They are the alpha, beta, delta, gamma, and theta brainwaves. The theta brainwave is where hidden feelings or emotions are stored. Your theta brainwave also stores your thoughts. It is what I call the seat of the subconscious, because this brainwave is what dominates your every thinking move. It monitors your day-to-day actions, perceived and not perceived. The theta brainwave processes information faster than what you can consciously think, meaning that when you make a choice and you don't want to follow through in that choice consciously, well, it's because your theta brainwave, your subconscious, has decided for you already, and your consciousness is conflicting with your subconscious. For example, if you wanted to go to the store, but you felt like you wanted to stay home, your theta wave is calling up feelings in your subconscious memory to convince you to stay home. If that memory has a strong enough memory attached, meaning that if the memory to stay home is more familiar, is a more familiar imprinting on your theta wave, well, then you're going to stay home. This is how procrastination happens. And this is how habitual patterns and behaviors are formed. We are ruled by our thoughts and events of the past, and that is until we decide to let go of the spiritual cord that binds you to these things. What does that energetic cord look like? Oh, it's fear, my friends, and that is exactly what binds you to the narcissist. You have that energetic cord binding you to the toxic person because the toxic person is rooted in fear, and fear is what binds you to them because the narcissist is drawing out the fear in you. The fight and flight responses are attached to the spiritual cord of fear. Fear is a negative vibration that acts as a beacon to bring more negative situations to you that bring about negative reactions. So how you deal with those negative reactions are all up to you. Dealing with negative situations negatively is what we do. We are on autopilot when it comes to these things. When you become aware of how you feel, then you can use your negative reactions to serve you. Your negative reactions can help bring attention to those negative situations. Let's just dissect the theta brainwave for just a moment. When you were young, you were imprinted with situations that you negatively or positively responded to. Now, these reactions were chemical in your body that provoked your spirit to express a character response through feeling. When you were newly born, you soiled your diaper, so you spiritually responded as you cried and people came to change your diaper. When you were cold, you cried, and people came to warm you up. When you were hungry, you cried, and people came to feed you. It was when people assumed that you didn't need what you needed, or you needed what you didn't need, that caused you to alter your crying to help other people understand you in your helplessness. You cried out of frustration a lot of times because people didn't understand. And you also cried in pain. And that intensified your cries to let people know what you needed, but you were still misunderstood. The responses that you gave during these times helped to form your character as you learned what to be tolerant of and what not to tolerate. You developed patience and compromise, and these formed a baseline to your character and settled on your theta brainwave. The hidden mystery of the theta brainwave is that I call it the seat of our character. The theta brainwave is an energy pattern that collects and stores your likes, your dislikes, your fears, your love, your hopes, and your dreams. All the types of experiences that you've had, positive or negative, and that you've had during your childhood, your youth, your growing up, even as an adult, all the experiences of your lifetime that you've had positively and negatively are stored on the theta brainwave, and they are hidden under the surface of your conscious awareness. This energy frequency is a neutral pattern, meaning that it has no filter to determine right or wrong, good or bad, positive or negative.